Hi, everyone, and happy Tuesday. This is Karen Schoen with American Freedom Watch Radio, brought to you live on repatriatradio.com. Please visit our websites, agenda21today.com, panhandlepatriots.com, repatriatradio.com, and americaismyname.org. Today, my host, thank goodness, is with us, John, and he's on a rig, pumping a lot of oil, huh, John?
Yes, ma'am. Unfortunately, this well that I'm on, we're recompleting so that we can pump additional oil. But we're one of the few, and still this industry, offshore oil industry, is under attack by this administration, by the holding of slowing of the permitting process, continuous overregulation, and heavy-handed enforcement. And that's the fact, and that's what we're dealing with in America today.
You know, John, we have all been watching what's going on in California, and as the oil is going up and up and up, the gasoline per gallon is going up and up and up. I really am hoping that people are taking notice, but I did go to a meeting, and I was told at this meeting that over 400,000 new people in California registered to vote. Is that not wonderful?
Yes, it is. Anything that drives a citizen to action, Karen, is something that this nation, our nation, requires of each of us. I think it's wonderful, and I do think that as complacent citizens, we always trusted that the folks that were looking out for us in our government would do that and look out for us and maintain our security. That's part of what they're supposed to do. And we have now are living in the realization that these people are doing great harm to all of our liberties and our freedoms.
And that you are 100% right. And nothing is more evident than that by any time you turn on even regular media. The lies that are just coming out of this administration are just coming and coming and coming. It's a matter of, well, what lie are we going to listen to today? Of course, yesterday we heard that it's all Hillary Clinton's fault, so I guess we'll have to replace Bush with Hillary Clinton when they're talking about Benghazi, because as we know that no one in the administration could ever take responsibility for anything. It always has to be somebody else's fault. And now it's Hillary Clinton's fault. So she's the one that caused the ambassador to be killed. Shame on her. And why are we not surprised? Why are we not surprised? But the big news today that, of course, is not being covered, I felt, several things have happened, and I don't know out on the rig if you heard about this, John, but one of the second in command in Egypt just went on national Egyptian news and called for a major jihad and assault against Israel. And the silence coming out of the administration is deafening. It is just absolutely amazing how they are totally ignoring what is going on in the rest of the world. Folks, sometimes it pays to just go online and type in a different paper, type in a Canadian paper, because they're beginning to tell the truth. They're beginning to tell, they are beginning to see the light, so to speak, by telling the truth of what this Muslim Brotherhood is all about. And this is absolutely 100% following along with the same progress as just prior to World War II, where the world is coming unraveled by a group of people who can see no further than their ability to create hostility and violence so that they can rule the world. Nothing changes, folks. Nothing changes. You have to look in history. It's so important to look at history. But now we have some good news, John, and it looks as though as much as the pollsters are trying to hold back any news, any good news, it seems that in many of the swing states, the pendulum is now swinging to the right. And that is really good news. Let us not forget, America is a center-right country. What does that mean? Most people have no idea. Most Americans are really independent. They are really not concerned about a political party. Many of them vote their issues, and the majority of the issues are more conservative than liberal. And this, as much as the left has tried to mask this and continually assault our religious beliefs, our beliefs about individualism in America, year after year, no matter how far the pendulum swings left, it always manages to swing back to the right. And let's hope that this is one of those times. But I think from indications we're getting there, John. I really, really do.
Yeah, and we have to be aware, Karen, that this shift has taken place, at times in our history. The Democrats were the party that had great conservative values. They had great family values. They were the supporter of the working class Americans. Then we saw a shift. And then, in the 60s, I don't suppose anyone really cared, and that's tough to say, but how many of us in the 60s and the early 70s were really paying attention to what was happening inside of the parties in our federal government? But then there became a radical shift inside the Democratic Party that became so far left that it's no longer recognizable. So many of us that were independents and seeking someone to represent our core conservative values said, well, the Republicans at this time seem to be addressing my beliefs. They're standing with me on issues that are right, the abortion issue, gun control, all of those issues that we could align with. So we became Republicans, and we said, okay, I'll vote Republicans. But for many of us that are independents, we have now come to the realization, does either party truly represent me as a conservative? And that's a question for us to answer after this election. This election is very clear. We have an ideological choice in Barack Obama, a near socialist Marxist, or Mitt Romney, the Republican, who may represent our conservative values in the free market economy. We know that he's a businessman. We know he's a very successful businessman. He's being condemned for being the great success, the great leader, the great changer that went in and saved an Olympics. For all of the things that he's done that we can witness to, testify to, and say, here's the truth about this man, he is very successful at economics and business. This nation is dying and has a dying economy. We must support any man that has the intelligence of Mitt Romney on the economy gets my vote in this dire time of this nation.
And Rosa Corey, who works with us, she's an agenda. Her website, everyone, is Democrats Against UN Agenda 21, wrote a very interesting article. And what she was saying is, John, I agree with you. Mitt Romney will give us the ability to bring the economy back. But if we have not learned our lesson and we go back to sleep, in 8 more years, we'll be in the same situation again. We may have money,
Absolutely.
We may not, but our ideals, our liberties, our freedoms will be diminished over and over again if we're not paying attention to what's going on in Congress and in the Senate. because that is where all of these egregious things begin, and then they are followed through with the 923 executive orders that Obama, just for example, put in place. That one blows my mind when I listen to Paul Ryan and I listen to Mitt Romney, and they say it'll take them 10 or 15 years to balance the budget. I don't know about you, John, but it would take me 5 minutes. I would just cancel all the executive orders and tell all of those unconstitutional agencies that are destroying our country, sorry, no funding, you lose. Well, then the budget gets balanced. Imagine that. And that's the reality.
And Karen, that's something that all of us with any type of logic understand. But you and I and people that are active and participating in this movement for restoration of the free republic, and that's what we're about restoring, as a free republic where we, the citizens, are in charge and we don't have a ruling master in the government. But the one thing that's very true is you ask the average guy, who controls, the Department of the Interior? What branch of government does that work under? And they have very little knowledge of the inner workings. But for you and I, we've delved into it, and we recognize, well, this executive order, how does it, in these departments that operate under the executive branch, the one thing that we learned a long time ago, and I guess it was Dr. Michael Kaufman that shared that information with us, defunding. Our Congress controls the purse strings. The Senate and the Congress is the most important body for we, the people. I don't care who they put in the White House. I would like to see right now someone with some economic understanding, but the bottom line is our House and our Senate must be controlled by we, the people. And right now there are some great candidates that we're behind, and we are winning those key states, Karen, and I think we have a heck of a shot at restoring some order. But we can't give up.
Absolutely, and that's very, very important, folks. No matter who wins this election, and we all hope that it's Romney, because to me, this is going to be not a yes vote for Romney, but a no vote for Obama, because the thought of the UN trampling over America, and running our country is so nauseating to me. I want to throw up every time I think about it. So I'm not voting necessarily for Romney. I'm voting against Obama, and I think a lot of people are doing that too. But that's the message that we have to carry forward. We can't say, okay, we're going to put you in office, whether it's in our state or our federal or our county, and then we're going to leave it to you to do some good. No, folks. It doesn't work that way. John, you're not going to believe this, but in Florida, the school board has just gone back to segregation. They have put in place a tiered expectation for ethnic groups. Can you believe that? And they are saying out loud, up front, that their expectation for black Floridians is below people who are disabled on a 10-year plan. What kind of stupidity is that? What does that say to the American people? And what does that say to the people of Florida? And how can the people of Florida keep their mouths shut when this is way right out in the open? The Department of Education should be fired immediately. But that's what happens when we have a group of people who don't pay attention. And unfortunately, that's what we have going on right now. Dr. Bailey, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Dr. Bailey, I want to introduce everyone to Dr. Preston Bailey. John Estabrooks is on the line with us. John is on an oil rig in Louisiana. And I invited Dr. Preston Bailey to join us today for a very specific reason. We, John, you and I keep on saying they, we keep on saying the elite, we keep on saying the elite of the UN. And Dr. Bailey is an expert in his field and can give us some clues into the minds and the thinking of who these people are and what their motivation is, as he has worked with them for a number of years. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
Dr. Bailey, why don't you tell everyone what your work has been about and who you are, so that I'm not keeping it a secret.
Well, I'm a clinical Christian psychologist. I've been counseling for years people that have what's called highly complex SRA-DID. SRA-DID means dissociative identity disorder caused by satanic ritual abuse. So I counsel those that are called, there's many different degrees, so I counsel those that are highly complex, that are mainly people that have become Christians, and they're in the New World Order organizations, and they're trying to come out, but it's very difficult because they're highly programmed. So that's what I do almost every day.
Okay, let's go back a couple of steps. The New World Order, folks, for those of you that are new to the show, the New World Order is the ideology that is being promoted by those who follow Agenda 21 coming out of the United Nations. Agenda 21 is the UN initiative for the 21st century. It was brought to our, it was always there, but it was brought out in the open by George Bush 41 at a conference in Rio. Agenda 21 follows Satanism, and the New World Order follows, if you look at the Communist Manifesto, if you look at the beginning of Saul Alinsky's book, Rules for Radicals, he dedicated that book to Lucifer. And Dr. Bailey works with those people who have been, I guess, indoctrinated. Would that be the right word?
Yes. I would say it's a little bit past the step of indoctrination. Indoctrination is really what goes on in public schools today and universities. Programming is past that. Under the Freedom of Information Act, over 100,000 pages has been given to the public with irrefutable 100% proof evidence that the Central Intelligence Agency in the U.S. government has programmed as many as 2 million Americans in sophisticated programming commonly called MK Ultra and Monarch programming. So
is that kind of like a hypnosis?
Well, yes, it is like hypnosis. To program, what they do is they can use hypnosis, they use hypnotic drugs, but now technology is so advanced, they can use virtual reality programming, like kids watch games that are virtual reality. They may put this thing on their head and they see it's called virtual reality games. So now, in advanced programming, they use virtual reality, and they can even hook up electrodes to your brain. It's like if you go to the hospital and you have an EEG to your brain to measure your brain waves. The same technology they use for that. New World Order groups use those same electrodes. Sometimes it's called a crown on the head to do advanced programming, even using computers. In fact,
this is one of the reasons why, although I feel that computers are important, computers as the sole tool for teaching is horrifying. because a textbook is not going to program electrodes in your brain. A textbook is not going to give you subliminal messaging. They can do imaging, but they can't flash images on a screen subliminally so that your brain will absorb it. And the idea that all schooling should be computer-driven, folks, this is not what we want. We should always have a mixture, and we should always have a choice. And to choose one over something else is a bad thing, because the result then becomes, I guess, programming into the ideology of the New World Order. What is it exactly that they believe, Dr. Bailey?
Well, the New World Order has a grandiose plan that they can expand their control of the world through surveillance, which now has pretty much come to pass in the United States. Surveillance on every American citizen through using RFID chips and other modern technology and governmental means to control all the citizens of the world and control the government, control education and all the areas of society, put them in a controlled environment, which is exactly what Agenda 21 is, then bring in the Antichrist, who will be the dictator of the world, and then they will have artificial life forms and technology, robotic technology and others, and advanced weapons, so that when Christ returns from the Bible, then they will be able to defeat him. So that's their actual plan.
That is frightening, but we are beginning to see it unfold. And I always tell everyone, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, there's an excellent TV show. Just watch the first 5 minutes. It's called Persons of Interest. And they show in the first 5 minutes, you don't have to watch the show, but how the cameras and the surveillance material is capable of monitoring every human being every minute, every hour of every day. And that's where we are heading. And this is what George Orwell, in his book 1984, was talking about, where you have a big brother following you through mind control, and your mind then becomes controlled.
You know, and we are all keenly aware that in our daily lives, as we go about our business, and it doesn't matter if we're in large cities, and when you leave your home, it's the number of times that you're now video recorded in a single day. We're seeing now in the national media and in press the fact that the U.S. government is flying drones over America. I was contacted just the other day with a great investment opportunity, at least that's the way it was approached to me, about facial recognition programs that will be attached to these surveillance cameras, so that not only will they be able to view you, but they will be able to go in and facially recognize you. And if you have any past history, your history would be recorded and available to whoever's making the surveillance. Of course, the fallacy of this and the way it's being sold to Americans is that this is for your security. This is required so that we can keep the nation secure. And the fact is that we are selling our freedom and our liberty not to be monitored. It's very frightening, and the fact that it's being done through the New World Order, and the pace at which these people are carrying and moving forward is the frightening thing to me.
Dr. Bailey, who is the they of the New World Order who are doing this? Can we pinpoint groups? Can we pinpoint people, not necessarily their names, but groups of people that are involved in this? Is there a hierarchy? How do we recognize them?
There is actually a hierarchy. The highest that you don't hear much about, the actual highest is called the Council of 13, and they actually make all the ultimate decisions. Then there's larger and larger councils below them, but then there's a number of organizations, whether it is governmental or political in nature, but the main group that really makes the ultimate decisions is the Illuminati. I've been to
Maybe
seminars.
you can explain who the Illuminati are. Where did they come from? What is their goal?
The Illuminati, the Illuminati is actually composed of 13 bloodlines. I think many people may be aware of them. The 13 bloodlines are the usually very wealthy people. The Astor bloodline, the Bundy, the Collins, the DuPont, the Freeman, the Kennedy bloodline. So just imagine, they became president of the United States.
Right.
It's called the Li, which is Chinese, the Onassis, and just imagine.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. The Reynolds, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds,
Why am I not
the Russells,
surprised?
Van Doon, they are the 13 bloodlines. But really, each one of those family bloodlines have a different focus within the New World Order agenda. The Rothschilds mainly focus on the banking. So the banking, their plans are to get the world in major debt so that when there is, and I believe this is going to be within a year, people I counsel say this will be 30 days after the next election, that they will start to what they call trigger a global financial crisis 30 days after the election. And when there is a world economic crisis, it's already really started in Europe, then what's going to happen is the value of currencies around the world will plummet, especially the U.S. dollar. Obama has actually already said he wants to devalue the U.S. dollar to help pay off our debt, even though he has gotten us in debt in $5.1 trillion so far, which is a shock. So financially, America is really broke. So if Obama is reelected, I mean, this is pretty much guaranteed. Taxes are going to be the highest in U.S. history. I just did a seminar online just talking about that starting January the 1st, 2013, will be the largest increase in taxes in U.S. history. In fact, I read the 2,700 pages of Obamacare. It actually has 21 additional taxes and will affect 1/6 of the U.S. gross domestic product.
Wow.
Starting January the 1st, all hell is going to break loose in the United States. And I think that Homeland Security actually knows this. And what I'm saying is not hidden under a rock. It's public information. It's just that they don't talk about it on TV because they don't want to They don't want to panic people.
Well, they don't want to panic people until it's time they have things in place, and that's what I've felt that way for the last couple of years, that this is coming, it's going to be carried out, and we don't know the exact date and time, and that's the difficult thing to pinpoint. But their actions, you can't have an executive branch that we've had in place now, and go all the way back to George Bush. He spent his trillions also on unfunded wars, but then with the actions of the Federal Reserve, the whole calamity inside banking and the mortgage crisis in our homes, everything that took place in the devaluation of the U.S. currency, anyone with any logic, simple logic, says that this is being carried out by money did not disappear. The money, when we say deficit spending and where's the $15 trillion, the $15 trillion is stashed in banks in Europe. And the money's there, but yet they will collapse the currency, the dollar. If I control your money, I control you. Understand that. And that's what this is. All of the need for surveillance is when they do collapse things, and we have I can't even fathom the calamity. When we see what took place and is taking place every day in Europe, and it's a huge part of the Middle Eastern crisis, whether Obama or anyone, the talking heads wants to admit it, when you take a civilization and you enslave them to dictatorships in the Middle East, certainly they will fall for any religious ideology or any ideology that offers to feed them and to care for them. And so they riot and they protest and they burn things down. This is going to play itself out, and I really hate it, and it's fearful for me. It's coming to this nation. It's coming to Mexico and South America. No one will be exempt from this. This is an exercise in the control of power of the entire planet. And we're just citizens.
Dr. Bailey, today, the the CEO of Citibank, just stepped down. Do you think that that's all tied to this?
Yes. Within the last year, because time is short, because they're really going to start this short time after the next U.S. election, they had to change the CEOs of hundreds of major banks around the world. Within this last year, over 611 banks, the leadership of the banks has totally been controlled into family members of the Illuminati that are now in control of it. I believe this changes. Citibank is simply a part of that. And what happens is they want to get their bankers in control of all of the major banks when they're ready to give that's just the word they call it, when they give the signal to cause the global financial collapse. They're actually making it appear in the United States that the economy is stable, and it is not. The economy is not stable.
No.
So on the evening news and the administration, they are deliberately making the economy appear that it's stable and it's on the road to recovery. But listen to this. This is public knowledge. The head conservative economist in the United States says by the end of this year or the beginning of next year, there will be a global financial collapse. Now, he just publicly. The head Democrat economist in the United States, says by the end of this year or the beginning of next year, there will be a global financial collapse. He even sold his mansion, and he's just renting a place because he's so convinced. And the commodities expert in the world, Jim Rogers, who has written books on commodities, he used to be Warren Buffett's partner, he says that there will be a global financial collapse at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So he moved out of the country, I believe it was to Hong Kong. So that's...
He moved to Singapore, I think.
Yeah, Singapore.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's,
I just received an email from a friend whose husband works in the yacht business. And there was a yacht show in Italy. And when he went, his partner went. My friend's husband did not go, but his partner went. And he said when he met with the people that would normally buy, they'll trade in a boat and buy a little bigger boat or a faster boat, they all told him that no, they are selling everything, that they are afraid to drive around on the streets of Italy because if they are driving around in their Lamborghini, they get a knock on the window with a policeman coming over to them saying to them, take me to your home and show me your tax bill so that I know that you have paid your taxes. She said they are selling their homes, exactly what you're saying. They are selling their mansions, and they are moving onto their big yachts so that they can be out of the country because they're anticipating, after the election, huge riots.
Yeah, that's exactly 100% correct. When, like I said, this is just a fact. All people are just, I don't hear them talk about it on the evening news, but this is just a fact. Anybody can research this. The largest tax increase in history starting January the 1st, and the president is going to tax everything he can. So people are not going to have much freedom, and it's going to be horrendous. And I don't know. People are just not prepared. They're not prepared at all.
Well, what would you recommend for people to be prepared? We have listeners here that are prepared. So what should we do?
Well, I actually spoke on this at a 3-hour seminar weeks ago. But the first thing you can do is, when there are riots, and there will be riots, and that is why Homeland Security has already ordered 1 billion bullets, and they are 40 caliber hollow point, which means they're not designed to injure but kill. So there's going to be major riots because of high taxes. Food is going to go sky high. If you listen to the evening news, they say we don't have inflation. That's the biggest lie on the planet. Food has gone up an average of 30 to 40% from last year. It's expected to go higher because in the Midwest there's been a drought, and actually 50% of the crops failed. So by the end of this year or January of next year, food prices are going to be sky high. So the first thing you can do is make sure you store food. Anybody can go for $20 and get a 50-pound bag of rice. Even the poorest person in the United States, they can go get 50 pounds of rice and beans, and that can be that will be better than nothing, because you're going to need food. Our grocery, if there's a national crisis and martial law is invoked, grocery stores only have 3 days worth of food. And if that is stopped, what are people going to do after 3 days unless they have food stored? So what's going to happen is they're going to go into homes and rob them, and the crime is going to go over the ceiling. So you need a personal means of protection. You need to store at least 3 months' worth of food, and you need to have water on hand in case there's no water through the city, and that's going to be a major crisis right there. So the main thing is personal protection, food, and water on hand, and you also need probably 3 months, a minimum of 1 month's worth of cash on hand to pay your bills. But I suggest at least 3 months worth of cash on hand because there's actually talk of what's called a bank holiday. A bank holiday is what just happened in Italy. For almost a month, the bank closed and people were not allowed to access their own money in the bank. This happened during the Great Depression.
I'm listening with such great because I have an interest in this, and I have been preparing myself and my family for quite some time. But one of the things with cash that troubles me is what will the value of the cash be, and what would be the cost of any commodity? You know, if I go today and I get 3 months of U.S. dollars to pay my allotted, to support my family, whether it's my monthly groceries, my needs. If what this is coming to me, and understanding an economic collapse, then inflation would necessarily become hyperinflation.
Yeah, that's exactly
and
correct.
And we would our cash. I don't know whether our cash. Maybe perhaps investing in a small portion of gold or silver, hard currency, or something that you can definitely be able to barter with and exchange with your neighbor, because maybe your neighbor has something, and that's it. To me, the wisest things is today, in calm and in peace. If you haven't spoken with your neighbors and you haven't made contact with the people around you in your community, please get to know each other. We're American citizens. We don't have to participate in the turmoil. We can isolate ourselves from it if we know each other, if we assist each other, and look, by all means, I agree absolutely with everything that Dr. Preston has said. It's shocking, and it's also for many people, they may have turned the dial, but for many people, then they're going to become frightened, and it does not have to be something frightening. We have, for a long time, accepted this huge amount of debt that's over our head. We have also accepted the fact that we have trading partners that do not like us, that are in control of what our next step could be. China could collapse our currency overnight. They have the ability. So with that, then we have to look at things with, take the dark sunglasses off of the bright hope that Mitt Romney might be, or the bright hope of what could be, and say, okay, this is very possible also. A collapse could occur. If it does, where am I? Where's my family? And how do we get through it? Go back and look at what happened in the Depression, and study that. Look at that. We have.
Yes. Be followed the voice there. Be prepared, because people who are prepared can get through it. People who are prepared become the leaders, and people who are prepared will come out okay. Now, Dr. Bailey, do you think it will make a difference whoever becomes president? And I know I know you don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not asking you that. Just saying, what do you think? Is it regardless of the election, or would it be yes if it's Obama, no if it's Romney?
Romney said he wouldn't raise taxes on
so that would be helpful.
Yeah, so that would be helpful. Obama has really already said he's going to raise taxes, but but the taxes are already scheduled. They're going to phase. But what the other speaker said is 100% correct. I suggest that people buy 1 ounce American Silver Eagles. And you can also get a bag of pre-1965 silver coins that you can use for bartering. But the main thing that people are going to get the things that they need during a national crisis is through bartering. So people need to have skills and specific things that in a national emergency that they can use to barter with. There's even websites on bartering that will teach you how to barter. So you can go to a search engine and type in how to barter or bartering network, and that's the most important thing you can learn to be prepared for this.
This is also something that you can do within your church and within your organization. Make a list of all of the skill sets that are within your community. So if something happens and someone is more proficient mechanically than someone else and someone else is a doctor, you know who the people are within your area that you can count on, because I believe that as this happens and we have a, quote, bank holiday, we are also going to be looking at the shutting down of electricity in grid format, because that's a very easy way to control people. People can't go anyplace if they can't go to the gas pump and fill up their car. You can't get money from the ATM machine if there's no electricity. So when I've been talking to people, I tell them, if you're unsure, shut off the electricity in your house on Friday, take a notebook with you and your family, and see the things that you need before you turn the electricity on Sunday. Now, in Louisiana and Florida, we're a little prepared because we know how to deal with hurricanes. In the north, not so much. So figure that you've got a huge hurricane bearing down on you, or a huge blizzard, and you're going to be without power for weeks, could be. What do you need? Do you need medicine? Make sure you got plenty of medicine. And then go through the items that you and your family would be able to use should you not have electricity.
Yes, I just 2 days ago, I had a break in my water line. We had to cut our water off, and I had a taste of what it's like to go 12 hours without water, and I'm telling you, it's miserable.
Well, that was one of the things that we did during our hurricane, when we had Hurricane Wilma. We knew that Hurricane Wilma was coming. So, okay, guys, the hurricane is on the way. What do you do? Well, we went out and we bought a lot of old garbage. We bought a lot of garbage pails, and we put them underneath the drain spout so that we would have water. And that's how we were able to flush our toilets. That's how we were able to do, minimal things that you need water. I'm not talking about water for drinking, but believe me, if that became a last resort, that would be a last resort. But there are things that you can do. If you live in an apartment and you hear that there's rioting, the first thing I would do is fill up my bathtub with water and make sure I do not have to leave my house for at least a couple of weeks. So make sure that you have the things in your house that you need, that you will not have to go outside, because when you open your door, that's when you're inviting problems, because you have no idea who you're opening your door for. And if you're prepared, you don't have to open your door. And that is very important. The understanding of what it is to live self-contained. What do you need for you, your family, so that you don't have to go any place for a couple of weeks on end, because there won't be any place to go. Think back to all of us of what it was like in the 70s with all of those riots that were going on, because hungry people they do horrible things.
That's right.
They do horrible things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, you also mentioned the Illuminati, and people have been saying, well, what about the Bilderbergs and the CFR and the Trilateral Commission? So maybe before we leave, it's important, folks, that you know who these people are, because mostly they're the same. And it doesn't mean, I don't believe, that every member of the Trilateral Commission is a horrible, disgusting human being that worships Satan. I don't think it works like that. But what are your thoughts, Dr. Bailey?
Yes, they are like subgroups of the New World Order. Each of them have a very specific purpose as a part of the grander plan of the New World Order. But what they have right now, the New World Order, let's say specifically in the United States, they have Illuminati members that are in high-ranking positions in all branches of the military. They also have key people. Now, these are family members, but they're also highly programmed. They're in key positions of the military. They're in key positions in the government. They're key positions in finances. For example, people think the Federal Reserve Bank is a part of the federal government. It is not. It is a privately held bank. It is actually owned by Illuminati bankers. It is owned by 10 banks that are a part of the Illuminati. For example, one of the 10 banks owning the U.S. Federal Reserve is the Rothschild Bank of London and the Rothschild Bank of Berlin. But there's 10 main banks that own the Federal Reserve in the United States. So they all have a separate job and task. And in the military, in private aerospace companies that do advanced technology research for the U.S. government or military, they have people in the Illuminati that are there helping to use this technology to control everyone. It's like here in Ybor City, they actually have on the street cameras that do what is mentioned before. They have facial recognition programs that people just walking down the street, they take a picture of it, it recognizes who they are, and it accesses the database for that person. So they're trying to control the data, have a database for all Americans, and that's what Obamacare is not really about health care. It's nothing about it at all. No. It's going to ruin our health care. It's not about that at all. It's about having a data bank with all of our private records that we sometimes would not even tell a family member what's wrong with us. But it's all going to be there online for the government to access at any time. That will be merged in with all of this surveillance software. So it's going to be bad.
Well, this is quite a lot for everyone to absorb, and I know that it is quite terrifying. There is a YouTube that I highly recommend for everyone, and the name of that YouTube is called Iron Mountain Blueprint for Tyranny. And I suggest that you all see it. Don't try to see it all at once. See it in small doses, because you're going to want to go back and see it again and take lots of notes. But it's very important that you understand the plan, because the only way that you can come out of something is when you understand what's happening. And if you don't understand what's happening, there's no way out. So the plan is there, and it's very important that we learn about it. Dr. Bailey, I cannot thank you enough for joining us, and what I would like to know is if you would come back again and speak with us regarding the actual plan with these groups. And again, this is the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Federal Reserve Bank, the Bilderbergs, the Club of Rome, the International Monetary Funds, all of those elite, quote, elite, who think they are richer, smarter, better, and that we should be their slaves, all have come together under the United Nations. In Florida this weekend, as across the country, many groups are getting together. We're holding rallies to tell everyone that we want freedom from the United Nations. The purpose of this rally is to show that we are Americans all together. We don't expect that tomorrow, after the rally, the day after the rally, our legislators are going to say, oh, well, we should defund the United Nations. It's a bad idea. That's not the purpose. The purpose is so that Americans see that we are Americans. We are Americans without adjectives. We are free people, and we want to remain as free people. And we will band together to be free people. In Florida, the bill that we're promoting is our property rights bill. Private property, not just real estate, intellectual property, your being, guaranteed to you by God, not the United Nations. So thank you so much, Dr. Bailey, for joining me today. John, as always, it was a pleasure. Folks, please email with any questions. Go on agenda21today.com. We need volunteers to help write postcards, because if we do not get our name known, if we do not tell our legislators, our representatives what we want, they are not going to represent us. And in America, we live in the only country where we have a representative republic. And as Benjamin Franklin said, if those who give up liberty for security deserve neither. So in America, we, the individual, are the leaders, not our representatives. They work for us. We do not work for them. Let us remember that at all times. You're listening to Karen Schoen with American Freedom Watch Radio, brought to you live on repatriateradio.com. Please visit our websites, agenda21today.com, panhandlepatriots.com, repatriatradio.com, and America is my name. And remember, victory is our only option. And vote and watch the debate tonight, and be proud to be an American. Thank you all, and we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Say you want a rebel.